Hey, Brad.
I'm here.
I'm clicking it again because I didn't click my screencast record. We're going to do it again. Be right back. Hey, everybody,
No
if you're
problem.
watching, hold on one sec. Hey, we got it. Technology. I messed it up, and that's why we're here with Brad. So, hey, everybody, my name is Rick Silva with One Referral Away at YouTube. That's my YouTube channel. I teach networking. I also help business owners make more money, and that's through networking, technology, screencast software. We're using StreamYard. If you want to do streaming on Zoom, go to anywhere. Brad's your guy. On top of that, Brad also does technology services like phone systems. He'll get more into that. I just wanted to give a real quick overview. So I'm going to be interviewing Brad. I have a whole bunch of questions for him. I'm going to do an intro, and I hate reading stuff word for word, but I'm going to do my best, Brad. So I've known Brad for a couple years now. And when Brad's given an assignment, like, hey, I need to figure out how to screencast to Twitch and then over to Zoom, Brad, I just, like, that guy's like a Pitbull. So I nicknamed him the technology Pitbull, and he liked it. Thank God. So, yeah, baby. So Brad has been helping small and mid-sized businesses find and implement, I'm going to move this in front of me real quick, technology solutions for over 25 years, and is the president of Qcentus Technology Resources, a technology services agency whose mission is to help small and mid-sized businesses to better evaluate, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate technology solutions, and at the best prices and at the best contract terms. Qcentus is able to provide, hold on, let's stop popping up. Qcentus is able to provide this service free of charge to companies because as an agent, they're paid by the provider you choose. And since they represent practically every one of them, they provide truly objective consulting. Hi, Brad.
How you doing?
Good. Party time.
It is party time.
Right into the questions. Brad, what is, the first one is, what's the topic of finding the right technology? Why is the topic of finding the right technology so important for small business owners?
You know, I have seen in my over 25 years in the technology world that there's a common thread amongst, I think, most, or even I'd almost say almost all of them, small and mid-sized businesses, that they are not aligned with the right technology services, and they're paying too much for the ones that they have. And it's so important because time and time again, I see the impact that having the right or wrong technology has on a company. And it can be alarmingly profound. It really, really can be. And so I think a lot of people, they don't know how to get or evaluate those services. And so they don't. So they get what they think is best or what's the most well-known for them, but it has a tremendous impact on the bottom line of almost any business.
What's your background in finding these services?
Well, as I mentioned a moment ago, I've been selling technology services for over 25 years now. And so my entire career has been built around that very thing, whether it was working as a rep, a sales rep for a particular technology company, or for the last 10 or so years now being an agent representing all the technologies. So it's been really my lifeblood for the last 25 years.
And as you're watching this, if you're interested in different types of technology, and Brad, sometime in here, even if it's not asked, I want you to give a brief on all the different technologies you can help with. You don't have to do it right now, but when you can. So that's Brad's name, phone number, email address, scrolling across the bottom right now. Brad, what results have you gotten with finding the right technology services?
Oh man, I could tell you so many stories of not just cost savings, but just dramatic changes that we've been able to make. And I feel privileged and blessed to have been a part of that. A lot of them are stories. One story that springs to my mind is it was a small company. They had a grand total of 15 employees. 5 of which were office staff members. They were a service company, so most of their staff was out in the field all the time. So essentially, we were talking about an office staff of 5 people. We were talking about some other things, and he mentioned that he was moving, and I looked at him and I said, "Hey, you're going to take this piece of junk phone system with you?" Because we had a pretty good relationship. He says, "Yeah, yeah, of course I am. Why do you call it a piece of junk?" And I said, "Well, the duct tape on it was a dead giveaway." And so we laughed for a minute. He goes, "Well, yeah, I am." Why was my question. The answer was, well, because I can't afford a new one. I said, well, how much are you spending for your telecom services right now? And without batting an eye, he says, around $6,000 a month. This was to support an office staff of 5 people. And I said, well, let me see your bills, because that's crazy. And what I discovered was that he was paying for services that were 20 years out of date. And they weren't even working right, by the way. So I said, hey, I identify, I'm not going to get into all the technical stuff about it, but I can tell you it was the wrong service that he was aligned with. And he was being way overcharged. I said, what if I told you that I could get you a whole brand new phone system, quintuple your internet speed, and clear up all these problems and save you 75%. He said, prove it. And I did. And I'm not bragging when I say that, but it's just, I was able to do that. And I could tell you story after story after story, and all of them are around those small and mid-sized businesses that are spending way too much money for the wrong services.
So real quick on that, Brett, were you able to save the 75%? Because real quick off the top of my head, that's like $4,000 a month.
Yeah, actually, it was more like 80% at the end of the day.
Whew.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. What's the number one thing you would say to a small business owners about getting started, finding the right technology?
Don't be afraid. There is help available to you. Most companies don't. They don't evaluate what they have because they don't understand the technology. They don't understand the landscape that they're playing in, and so they just ignore it and hope that it goes away, or they hope that it's not too terribly expensive, and they tend to close their eyes to it. Don't be afraid.
I think this one's going to be the same answer, but we're gonna hit it anyway. What would you say to small business owners who's nervous about getting started? What would you say to put their mind at ease? I think that's the same answer.
It really, really is, and I can't say that enough. Again, what I think holds most businesses back is sort of this fear of the unknown. They don't. It's not immediately painful to them unless the phone system's been down for 3 days, right? And the customer service manager is in their office pounding on their desk. At that point, it becomes their problem. But most of the time, those problems are invisible to them, and so then they're confronted with this sort of crisis mode that they're in, and so they want to make it go away as quickly as possible because they don't understand. And again, my answer is the same. There is help available to you. It doesn't have to kill you.
Perfect. I'm not going to ask the next one because the answer is the same. We have so many questions to go over here. What would you say to a small business owner who thinks they don't have enough time to get started? That's a good one, because I know that's a different answer.
Well, it is. There's and most of them don't. It's part of that overall thing. They're afraid of it. They don't have the time, but the help that is available, outsource it. And that's a whole different maybe discussion about outsourcing it. If you don't have the time, then ask yourself this: how much money is it costing you for that time that you're not spending?
The next question was, what if they don't have enough time? The answer you just answered. We're answering one ahead. This is amazing. It's like you already know what's coming. What's the number one mistake small business owners make when they're looking for or finding the right technology services?
It kind of harkens back a little bit to what I said, because most business owners and even IT people, they don't know what's available to them. They tend to look at the the most sort of in your face ones. If I say internet connectivity, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Probably Comcast, maybe AT&T, right? Well, there are hundreds of different providers. Some of them may or may not be available to you, but I would say the mistake that many business owners, particularly small and mid-sized business owners, do is maybe they can identify one or two, and so they go with that because that seems like the fastest road of least resistance, if you will, and that can oftentimes be a mistake.
Do you have any case studies? The question exactly reads: Do you have any finding the right technology services case studies you could share? I'm assuming that's where maybe people went about it the wrong way.
Well, yeah. I mean, there was one client in particular that this was actually, believe it or not, a fairly small company that their service that they were providing was a streaming service, like a music streaming service. Like you'd have on your phone. It was a different sort of a competitor, and I got involved in discussing with them their storage, because they have to store a large amount of data, as you can imagine, if they're going to stream an entire library of songs. And they began, and this was by the way a company with approximately 50 employees. When we began our discussions, they were spending $300,000 a month for their storage services, and
What?
it was $300,000 a month, and every month that bill was going up because their library was getting bigger and bigger. I showed them how they could take that 300 that what by the end of the project was $750,000 a month, and cut that bill to $250,000 per month. And it was and increasing the services that they had that were available to them. And again, I don't say that to brag. It's simply a matter of they had made that mistake of going with down the path of least resistance, the first company that they thought could meet their needs. Meanwhile, there were a number of others that could meet those needs at a third of the price and better customer service, by the way.
So just, I've never heard this before, but I'm just doing it off the top of my head. They're paying like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 million a year in technology. You got them down to like 350.
That's what I showed them. Yep, absolutely.
Man, I don't know if you have this set up. You set up a business model where you got a percentage of the savings from the client. I've met business consultants who take a percentage of the savings. Oh my goodness, you'd be retired.
It's funny you say that, because there's a lot of companies that actually do build their business models that way. Yeah. And I thought about that, and I made a conscious decision not to. I do not charge my clients. I never charge them a dime, because I feel like, I'm already making a good living being commissioned. I would feel like I was double dipping.
Yeah. I understand. Well, Brad, just to clear up, when I was saying that would be a business model if you weren't being compensated by the provider, right? Right. Yeah, I wouldn't say double dip. So I'm going to pause here because we haven't specifically. Why don't you name 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different types of technologies you can help a company with, from streaming webcam stuff to phone stuff and software? Just name a bunch.
Okay. So managed services is certainly one. That's a big one that a lot of companies are talking about. So any kind of managed services, there's a way to make that be as a service. Certainly phone lines or phone systems, internet connectivity, cybersecurity. And that's an enormous one. Cybersecurity. Actually, even cellular. Believe it or not, what we call mobile services, 4G and 5G, and a lot of that. Pretty much, if it's got electrons running through it and there's a service provider out there, I'm probably an agent for it.
Okay. The next question: business owners a lot of times expect to pay a lot of money, and I think it's just something they accept. Explain how you can show them how they can actually save a ton of money. Do you show them, you do the research and you show them tons of examples of how you can kind of, because I understand like that company that was paying $700,000 a month,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they were with we don't want to name too many companies, maybe they were with Comcast because that's what they thought they had to use.
Mm-hmm.
Do you lay out like a whole plan for them and show them different options?
You bet. We've got a multi-step approach that we take when we're working with clients to streamline all of their services. And part of that is we begin with an analysis of what they have. And that's actually the most painful part of that process, because you see on paper, oh my gosh, this is how much money we're spending every month. A lot of times that's invisible to the business owner, right? But once we get past that, I show them why they're spending that. You know what? A lot of times it's because of old technology. And the most glaring example of that is phone lines. If you've got old phone lines, they used to cost you $15 a month. I'm working with a client right now where those phone lines are $150 each per month. So here's a client that has seven phones. They're spending $1,000 a month, and that's not including internet, by the way. So I mean, that's item number one. Once we identify that, then we show them some different technologies, some different ideas about some ways to improve the service or save them money or whatever the goal is. At that point, it's a matter of saying, okay, now we know what we want to do. Now I get some engineers involved, and we will design what it is, and then we will help shop that. So let's say we decided they needed a new hosted cloud-based phone system. I've only got, I don't know, 50 or 60 different providers that can do that. So I vet all of them based on the needs that I've discussed with the client, what they need, what I think the best deal for them is, and present them however many options they're comfortable with. If it's 3, if it's 5, if it's 5, it's whatever it happens to be. And then I sit on their side of the table as we vet them together, and we ask them together, and we sit in demos together with them. So they can see right from beginning to end, what that's really all about, where the money's going, and how we're saving it.
Okay. What's the number one fear you think small business owners have when it comes to finding the right technology? I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. Number one fear.
You know what? I'd love to hear it from you.
If I was asked, what's the number one fear small business owners have when it comes to finding the right technology services, not knowing what they're looking for, thinking that there's only 1 or 2 options, and they're at the mercy of those 1 or 2 companies.
I'm going to send you a gold star, and I expect you to put it right on your forehead. That's exactly right. The fear of the unknown. If you're a small business owner, close your eyes. How many hats do you wear every day? Right? You are chief cook and bottle washer. You've got all these irons in the fire. And so you don't have time, frankly, to be an expert on all that. And if you don't know that there's help available to you, of course, you're not going to look at that unless it's a fire that's burning you up right now. So fear of the unknown. Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you both of these because we've kind of answered them, but maybe you have a different. I'm going to ask you 2 questions at once. Sure. What's the single biggest obstacle small business owners face? And then what would you say to small business owners who are just petrified to even start looking?
Sure. You know what? I begin the conversations with business owners based on their biggest fear. And I say this, guys, they're all evil. Okay. On the cover of my white paper, the 7 dirtiest tricks of the telecom industry and how to avoid them. It's a picture of the Death Star shooting a bunch of people. The Death Star is the AT&T logo, to give you an idea. So we begin with that. And honestly, that is, I think, the number one fear, because they don't understand the landscape that they're going into. And they know that these companies are better at that game than they are. So the few that they do know about, they feel completely overwhelmed by them, and frankly afraid of them. And that would be that's where we sort of attack that. And I'm sorry, the second question was so what's my advice around that? Get help.
Outsource.
Get help.
Some major red flags in finding the right technology for small business owners.
Don't get too hung up on what sort of the buzz is on the internet or whatever about this technology or that technology. Sir, and frankly, I don't know. I would advise against focusing too much on cost. And I know that it might seem a bit self-serving of that to say, but sometimes it makes sense to spend a little bit more. Although, if honestly, I can't remember any time where we've wound up with them spending more, unless they're just adopting an entirely new, an additional platform for one reason or another. But when you're looking at 4 different carriers, it's really easy to say, okay, well, they're all the same, and therefore I'm going to go with the cheapest one. That can be a little bit dangerous. Really, just kind of in general life, I think that's a pretty good example. At the same time, it doesn't mean that because somebody's less expensive that they're not as good too. So I would say a big red flag is accepting things kind of the way we always have. I think that's a really big mistake. Another red flag, honestly, is if you are saying to a sales rep, yes, I know more than you, or I think, I got to handle this. I understand this. Respectfully, I would share that you probably don't. I've had IT managers, and I don't position myself as the smartest guy in the room. I'm a generalist, but I'll tell you this. My very first customer, the IT manager for a very, very influential company, I asked him, why'd you do business with me? And he says, why do you think I did business with you? I said, because I saved you money and I got you these great services. He says, no, I probably could have done that on my own. He said to me, you were my Sherpa. Yeah. You were my guide through a landscape with which I was completely unfamiliar. And I thought to myself, this guy is an IT director in downtown San Francisco in the financial district. And what I'm thinking is like telecom 1A stuff, 101 stuff. He's like, I had no clue, right? So one of the red flags is thinking it all. It's a really good idea to have different points of view and different perspectives on stuff.
Awesome. So now crystal ball time.
Okay.
Do you see finding the right technology services being as important or even more important for business owners in the next 5 years?
I'd answer that with a question. How, as you look back over the last 10 or 15 or 20 years, would you say that technology is flat? Or would you say it's more of a dynamic kind of an industry?
Can I show you?
Yes.
5 years ago, Brad, we couldn't do this. We couldn't do that. I couldn't put your contact information on the bottom, then mine, then take stuff off, put it back. It's without question. It's so much more advanced.
That's right. If I would have told you 10 years ago that you'd be carrying around in your pocket this little device that replaced your, that had every aspect of your life, replaced your video camera, your telephone, your computer, you would have said I was nuts. And I don't mean to sound flip when I say it. I think that the ability to find the right technology solutions for your organization becomes more important with each passing day. And you need look no further than those 4 syllables that everybody dreads to hear right now. COVID-19.
Yep.
We went from, it took 20 years to get to a point where we were at before what I call the zombie apocalypse hit with video conferencing. Okay. And because I was selling those solutions, and video conferencing solutions existed to get to a point on what we call the early adopters phase. It took us 20 days to get over the hump and get to a point where if you're not using
Oh,
video conferencing, you're probably what they consider a laggard.
yeah. I agree. When the day, the second or third week of March, I received calls from every chamber of commerce saying you can't meet here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm running these in-person networking groups.
35 people.
Yeah. And I had to move 6 of them. I spent the entire weekend, I didn't sleep, learning this technology to move all my groups virtually. And now that it's done, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened. But literally the day the chamber said you can't run your networking groups here anymore, for that moment in time, I'm out of business.
Right.
I'm bankrupt. Well, that part I'm bankrupt, but B2B gathering is bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
So without these things, and it's a blessing in disguise. It's not a blessing people are dying. It's not a blessing a zombie apocalypse is out there, but it's what you do about it. It's what we can learn from it. And those of us that took advantage of it, I've come out like a rocket ship. But I think what petrifies a lot of people is not even knowing where to look.
Well, and I think it's worth exploring that a little bit, if you don't mind, because there's a lot of companies today, and I would speak to them individually, and I would say to them, don't be too afraid, because there's a lot of companies right now that are trying to figure out the way forward. They've got the ones that are still in business, have many of their employees or all of their employees working from home, where 5 months ago, that was not even something they would have ever considered for a lot of reasons that they considered valid. And now we've been forced into this sort of reality where we had to accept what we in the industry call virtualization, the ability to support employees working from home. And so many of you who are seeing this right now are probably thinking, what is our path forward? How are we going to support these? How many people are we going to bring back? And you don't know. And I'm hearing those statements being made, and I do that. The fear is palpable. It really, really is. And what I would tell you is it's actually an opportunity for you. And I would encourage you to use this time to examine, among other things, your technological infrastructure and ask what options do I have to support workers from home? Do I want to? And if I have to, what are some of the ramifications around that? Are there some security issues? Yeah, there sure are. Okay. Are there technology infrastructure? Yes, there absolutely are. But there is help available. And you know what, Rick? I think that is a huge element in that question about, is it more or less important every day? Yeah, it's more important.
Couple more questions and we'll be all done. Thanks to those of you that are still on or watching this on record. If you've lasted this long, congratulations, because the average YouTube viewer is 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And sometimes the best stuff comes last. Question for you, Brad. Do you have a quick start checklist that small business owners can use that can kind of help them figure out what technology they need?
Yeah. The first thing, it's actually pretty simple. Gather all of your technology bills, gather them up in one place for 1 month or 3 months, and then get somebody to look at them. That's all you need to do. And everything else will fall into place from there.
Thank you. Okay. Last question. Any final thoughts? You can go as long as you want or as short as you want in this. Final thoughts, next steps, final words of caution for small business owners.
Caution. Don't get caught up in believing what a lot of the hype is. You will hear and you will see the commercials on TV about, oh, we're building this new 5G network, right? We've all heard this, or whatever the technology is, or an ad on the radio for some security service or another. And you can fall into, oh yeah, I need to get that. I need to call Barracuda. And Barracuda might be great for you. It might not, right? But don't get led too far down that. There's any technology service requires a holistic look of what you've got, what you're doing. So that would be my word of caution. My word of encouragement would be, take a breath. There is help available to you, and it's either at low cost or no cost to you, and really requires very little effort on your part. There's people that can help you, and there are things that are available to help you get the right service at the right price and under the right contract terms, which is a big deal.
Yeah. I want to congratulate someone. I don't know their name, but you can see do you see the comment?
Yes.
When I said congratulations, I said congratulations if you're still here. And I said, I'm not sure who you are, but thank you.
Yes.
So I'm going to
thank you for not falling asleep or waking back up.
So Brad, thank you very much. I want to show I've been showing it throughout the presentation, but that's Brad Tucker there at the bottom. This is going to be on YouTube. You'll be able to go to my channel and get this next week. If you're watching on a record, you're watching it right now. That's Brad's direct line. That's his email address. This is my direct email address, onereferralaway@gmail.com. The YouTube channel is One Referral Away. Brad, I'll probably see you sometime next week in one of my networking groups. Thank you very much for your time. We'll get this uploaded, and anybody needs any help with technology, the technology Pitbull is the guy.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.